and welcome in to another episode of Forced Takeaways. It's a cloudy, overcast day here in Chicago. My name is Tony Ballgame. I'll be your host. We're going to talk about some of the biggest swing games here coming up in week 12, right? And some other topics that are simmering here as we are about to begin week 12. Joined with me today is not our friend Jake the Snake. He had some work stuff come up. He's on. He was a full participant in practice. He's not gonna dress for the game today. And in his spot, we have our relief pitcher and good friend of the program. Please welcome. And how are you doing today, Josh? Welcome.
Thanks, Tony. Doing good. Glad to be here to talk some football.
So to introduce you to our audience here, Josh, you grew up a Jets fan, right? Give me your little sort of little line about how you became a Jets fan for anyone who's curious, including me.
Yeah, for sure. So when I was like a little kid, I really only cared about baseball, and I was a Mets fan. But I grew up in New England. Like as a Mets fan, there's no team that you hate more than the Yankees, for the most part. So then I'm growing up in New England. When I'm watching football, it's the Patriots, and they just strike me. They're not like the Yankees in like certain ways, but like just the way that they were so consistently winning. This is like in early mid 2000s. They just struck me as like a Yankees type vibe. So I could not see myself rooting for them. My grandfather didn't really care much about football, but he vaguely liked the Jets because it rhymed with Mets. So I started watching the Jets in the Chad Pennington days, almost as like a protest to being in New England in some ways, and then really fell in love with the Mark Sanchez teams, which is like kind of sad
Oh
to think
God.
of, and then it's like those are actually like the probably some of the best Jets teams of my lifetime, or at least my fandom. But I took a break from like 2013 until the last Sam Darnold year. And then for some reason, that last Sam Darnold year, I decided I'm going to get into the Jets again. Really going to believe in Sam Darnold. Rude awakening, followed by Zach Wilson, and I've been kind of back on the ride ever since.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you were kind of like a contrarian fan, even growing up in New England. You just became a Jets fan just out of spite because you correctly identified the Patriots as a Yankees-like team. That's you. That was I think actually a good judgment on your part.
Yeah, and I was it was definitely a contrarian thing because I was always really annoying about the 1986 World Series, even though I'm not alive for it or connected to it in any way. But I would just bring it up all the time and bring up Bill Buckner to be annoying in ways that really didn't make much sense.
Bill Buckner was an idiot, dude. I hate him.
Yeah. But yeah, we originally
Dumbass.
became a Celtics fan anyway, which they're also
Oh,
kind of
not the
Yankees-esque. So
Nets. But the Nets
no, that's
rhyme
my
with the rhyming
grandpa.
thing.
My grandpa's that was my grandpa's thing. But one time I wanted to be cooler, and I saw a Kevin Garnett jersey at Kohl's one day, and I bought it because I knew it would spark conversation with people. And I actually became a Celtics fan in 2009, so the year after they won the title. So I the title 2 years ago was my first win with them. So I think I'm a little bit more grounded than your average Celtics fan.
No, yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing of teams that are like historically good over their like whole history, but if you're like Gen Alpha, Gen Z, you really haven't tasted a lot of the Celtics success. Or if you became a fan as recently as 2009, you're not really like
Yeah,
you're not like Bill Simmons being like, God, I remember watching all the greats play.
yeah,
Like you don't really get to say that, which adds character, put some hair on your chest.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yes, I'm not like those other Celtics fans.
you're a cool mom. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
no Nets. That's funny though. Damn. Okay. Well, in this upcoming week, I basically my whole sort of thesis of this week is that this is probably the biggest swing week. Here coming up before Thanksgiving, before it starts to get cold, and we start to thinking about playoffs at the end of the season, and the weeks start becoming the teens. We're in the last adolescence week here, in week 12 coming up. And I want to highlight a few teams. I found this cool graphic made by a random like software engineer guy on Reddit. So who knows how accurate this is, but I am gonna hold on. Let me what's this guy's name? I do want to cite him here. MrCaseB.com guy made a graphic here,
Okay.
and we're just gonna have to go ahead and trust him, folks. But it highlights teams that are what their making the playoff percentage chances are if they win this week's game, and what it is if they lose this week's game. And I want to highlight a couple of the biggest swings. Basically, like these are the 5 teams whose chances are in the positive, above 50% if they win, and below 50% if they lose. So, the Ravens, for example, if the Baltimore Ravens beat the Jets, I think this week, they'll have a 71% chance of making the playoffs. But if they lose, it goes down to 47%. The other ones are the Bears. They have a 45% swing. The Jags have a 70 to 41% swing. The Chiefs, coming off a loss to Bo Nix last week, 68% to 35% swing. Steelers go from 63 to 37. So it's almost all AFC teams. That's kind of highlights
Right.
how up in the air the AFC is. And I think that, and then this grows to this leads to my further thesis, which is the playoffs are gonna the late rounds of the playoffs, like the championship games and the Super Bowl, is gonna look quite different than it has in years past, just because of how much sort of new blood there's gonna be. So I think we might have some different faces, which I think is always fun, even if it's a team I don't particularly like. I do kind of like when a team that hasn't won in a long time wins. Like most people can get behind that, unless they're a team that everyone hates. But usually, a team that everyone hates is a team that's in the playoffs all the time. So it's kind of it works
Sure.
hand in
Yeah.
hand. And the biggest ones, the team that has the longest playoff drought that I think has the most chance of actually winning a game is the Bears, who haven't won a playoff game since 2011. I think they have a chance to both make the playoffs and get a win. I don't think that's that crazy. Because like some of the teams that have the really long streaks, there's no chance. Like the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since before 9/11. It's one of the longest
Yes.
streaks ever, longest active streak. So that's that's not happening. But the Bears, I think, is in the realm of possibility, and my Broncos as well haven't had their last playoff win was their Super Bowl in 2016. So that could definitely happen.
Yeah.
And then the other long streaks, real quick, is the Colts. These are championship game appearance streaks. Colts
Okay.
haven't been there since 2015. Neither of the Seahawks since 2015, and Broncos, of course, as well since 2016.
Got it. Yeah, the Bears are a weird one because I started paying attention to them when I moved to Chicago around 2015, which quickly followed by the Matt Nagy years.
Mm.
It's weird because they perennially were making the playoffs into like the Nickelodeon type wild card game, and I feel like that like set them back a couple of years because you could say Matt Nagy's made the playoffs multiple years, give him another chance. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I think I differ from you on this, maybe from what I heard you guys talk about previously, but I'm not quite sold on Caleb Williams yet. And I kind of wonder about the Bears getting into another cycle where they consistently make the playoffs and then are out in the first round in a way that kind of sets them back from doing the full rebuild they need. Although, full rebuilds sometimes don't work out, so maybe it doesn't matter, as I know as a Jets fan. But I
Yeah,
just
and
don't know about the Bears.
I think that's valid, but I do think that the difference between I think Matt Nagy and Ben Johnson are sort of in a different even the with your 2017 glasses on or whatever, like Matt Nagy was not considered as good of a head coach candidate as Ben Johnson is
Sure.
considered now, or was going into the search, sort of like the Ben Johnson the previous offseason. Everyone thought Ben Johnson was easily the next head coach, and he chose to stay on another year in Detroit. Matt Nagy wasn't that wasn't happening with Matt Nagy, I don't think.
That's true.
And and also Caleb Williams, the being the number one overall draft pick, kind of gives them time to maybe do like not a obviously they can not gonna do a actual real rebuild, but not having to pay Caleb Williams for another 4 or 3 years is gives them a few chances to do a sort of like a mini like a retool or a whatever. So there's a
Yeah,
chance it could get turned around, and I'm not sitting here saying the Bulls or the Bulls, the Bears are like a Super Bowl team this year, but they
sure.
are leading the division right now, and they are in the playoffs if they ended today, which of course means nothing. That always just like we might
Yeah,
be laughing our asses off at that in 3 or 4 weeks, but I don't know,
yeah.
it's
I have this
possible. I guess.
problem where I think this is common for a lot of people where it's like, I love Sundays. There's so many games to watch, but the island games, like Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football are the games I watch the most, and I just have trouble letting go of the things I've seen in them. So that's, for example, I have a really hard time believing in the Broncos despite so much of the good stuff I see. Just because I remember I watched one Thursday Night Football game where Bo Nix just looked pretty terrible, and I think the Broncos might have ended up winning the game anyway. But I think similarly that it was Monday Night Football this year, the Bears week one, right, where everyone was
Oh
making fun
yeah,
of Caleb's shirt. Um, I just for whatever reason have such a tough time letting go of things like that. Not the shirt, but the performance. And there's just this thing, and I don't know, not to harp on being a Jets fan, but watching the Zach Wilson years, seeing so many three and outs, I get this feeling sometimes when I watch these quarterbacks like Bo Nix when he is in one of his tough stretches, where it reminds me of watching the Jets. And then I don't know if maybe it's just so visceral for me that I can't let go of it. So like I think the Broncos and Bears are two teams where I'm just having trouble accepting that their quarterback is not going to hold them back, despite plenty of evidence that they will be fine.
yeah. More and more people are referring to Bo Nix as the white Zach Wilson.
Is Zach Wilson still the backup there or no? Oh
Miami
no, he's on
team?
the Dolphins now. Yeah, wow, I
Yeah, I think
forgot about that.
he's my girlfriend is a huge Bears fan, and her backup team is the Jets, so she kind of has a sort of a soft spot. She picks these, as we all do, pick players that were on your team that really weren't that good, but you were like, come on, give them a chance. That happens
Sure,
to me
yeah.
as a Nuggets fan, as a Broncos fan. I have my little guys that I follow throughout the league that I'm like, come on. Well, one of them is Tim Patrick for the Jaguars. I loved Tim Patrick when he was with the Broncos. He had a touchdown last week, which is really cool to see. But no, yeah, it's definitely valid too. If you watch the Thursday, I'm assuming you're referring to the Thursday night game against the Raiders that the Broncos won 10-7,
Yes.
which
Yeah,
was
that's
like
exactly it.
really fucking hard to watch.
That,
And
that
it's
poisoned
like
them in mind.
yeah, and that's totally valid, dude. And that's my biggest problem watching the Broncos is how bad the offense is for like 98% of the game. And then they make 3 or 4 plays in the fourth quarter and win the game because the defense is that good. And it's like on paper that's a good formula, like elite S tier defense and offense that doesn't really turn the ball over very often, and still it just kind of keeps things at like a flat line until they absolutely need
Yeah.
to. But like, and everyone says defense wins championships and everything, but you do have to have, I think, like in 2025 you kind of have to have an above average offense. Not everyone needs Patrick Mahomes obviously, but or whoever. Maybe he's not a good example of a perfect quarterback to use this season. Oh,
Right.
yikes! But like
Sure.
you do need someone who is kind of gives you a bit of an edge. And Bo Nix does have an edge with his running ability, but they don't really utilize it all that much. And now
Yeah,
that
there's
J.K.
there's
Simmons
this
is out for the few more weeks, the running game could use all the help it could get. But yeah, it's definitely valid to not. I'm not. Is there a thing with Broncos fans that are like they hound people that aren't like fully allegiant to the Bo Nix like movement? And it's like dude, there's plenty of problems with the team. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and wonder worry sometimes too about the teams where your quarterback is like maybe the special sauce that he has is rushing. I know you see more of that these days than you used to, and I think generally, it's great to have a rushing quarterback. I mean, awesome if they can throw and run too, but like I'm not going to say, it's bad to have a guy that can run. I think there's some diminishing return in late games, and it kind of reminds me to talk about basketball a little bit when the Bucks don't have shooters around Giannis, and Giannis
Yeah.
is kind of your late game go to, and then they can just start hacking him, and he's just not able to shoot threes, and they can hack him, and then he's not great at the line. Where it's similar with just the way clock management works in those 2 minute drills. The running quarterback, like sure they can run, get out of bounds, but it's just not an asset in the way that it is the rest of the game, and I just feel like maybe this is a selective memory, but it's so often those big playoff games. Like when you think about Bills, Chiefs, come down to can you do one last big drive, and it just with a running quarterback in a 2 minute drill in that situation, just so much tougher. So that's why I think I've become more kind of strict in my views about is this guy able to not a three and out without having to run to the pylon or not the pylon the stick or whatever every play.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point actually. And we can I do also have the outside of the big five, excuse me, the big five swing teams. I have a couple like two little honorable mentions, and one of them is the
Mhm.
Texans who play the Bills tonight. Well, you're probably gonna be listening to this on Friday or Saturday, but on Thursday Night Football, the Texans will play the Bills, and if the Texans do win that game in Houston, their playoff chances would go to 46%. If they lose, it would plummet to 18%. And Josh Allen is famously 0-3 against Houston in Houston. And this Texans defense is kind of like not to be a hater, but I kind of feel like they're sort of like the poor man's Broncos. They're basically a team that has just as good of a defense, it's maybe in some ways
Mhm.
better, but a way worse offense. So you
Yeah.
could sort of see a formula for them to win game, this week to week thing. I don't know what they would actually do in a real playoff game with CJ Stroud, but I don't know. I kind of like the Texans to win
Yeah.
tonight's game actually.
Yeah, it's so weird because I think the Texans are another team. I think maybe it was their Monday Night Football against the Seahawks. That
Oh
I just like
God,
saw
that game
CJ
was
Stroud have a bunch
infuriating.
of three and outs, and it made me dislike him maybe more than is warranted. But on the flip side, beyond like quarterbacks get poisoned in my mind if I watch them have like two three and outs in a row is I root too hard for kind of perennial backups, and
Yeah,
I'm way too high on Davis Mills, just because I remember his couple of random wins, and it's like, well, I mean, he led them to a win, last week. Plus, you have a Bills team that is, a little weird. I thought last week, it was a very exciting game against the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers obviously not a bad team. But I think to just let the Buccaneers, kind of score at will at points on you like that is a bit concerning. I don't think Davis Mills is going to do the same thing, but I agree at the least it's going to be a game. I think it'll be more interesting than it looks on paper.
yeah, for sure.
And what did you say the Texans' odds are if they lose for making the playoffs?
They lose, their playoff chances will be 18%.
Okay,
And they're in the
not
same
very
division as
good.
the Colts, so that's going to be tough. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. The other honorable mention team is the Panthers, who with their they have almost exact same numbers. If they win, it'll go to 44%. They lose, it'll go to 18%. They play the 49ers on Monday Night Football. So that'll be actually kind of a lot low key, a lot at stake in that game in the NFC playoffs because the Niners are third place in the NFC West at 7-4. And the Buccaneers are
That's
in second
crazy.
place in the NFC South at 6-5. Like they're above the Carolina Panthers are above 500 in week 12. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I had them like fully counted out going into the season.
Oh
Was
yeah.
did not believe in Bryce Young at all. But they've surprised. That's also kind of a weird division. Like I think at this point, the Buccaneers have had enough good games and good Baker performances that we kind of see them as good. I don't know if going into the season, I saw them being as good as they are now, and like if they flamed out, I don't think it would be the most surprising thing in the world. But I think you could also say the same for the Panthers. Um, I think at this point the Falcons probably can't be sneakily good, but This is one of those ones where you think odds, but I could see the Panthers and Buccaneers odds swinging, a lot week to week, and I have a tough time, picking that division.
And
I think I want to be
while
a
we're talking
Baker
about the
believer.
Panthers, oh, I'm still a Baker believer. I have him famously. I have him on all three of my fantasy teams. So I
Oh,
even if I
nice.
didn't, if that wasn't the case, I would still be a big Baker guy. But while we are talking about the Panthers, I want to give a big shout out to Bryce Young, who last week became the Carolina Panthers all-time leader in for a single season or a single game, I should say, passing record. He is now. This is just for the Panthers franchise, not all time. But
Right,
I think he had
right.
448 yards, which is cool. That's
Nice.
and we love seeing just Bryce Young experiencing joy. We want to see that after how bad and just nightmare of a first season he had.
Yeah,
Cool to
and
see
I
him
think you
get to the top like that.
I think you need that too, for conversation's sake, because you have so many quarterbacks that kind of thrown out after one bad year. So to have the Bryce Young as a recent example to point to as someone who figured it out, I think would be good for bringing the temperature down a little bit there. I know maybe that's not super likely with the way that sports talk and stuff happens, but I think it would be good for everybody to have that story.
Um, and so okay, I mentioned to you that I mentioned this to you when we were getting ready to record, but since I found out that Bryce Young broke the record, he's now the record holder for single game passing leader for the Panthers franchise. I was snooping around in the other Carolina Panthers passing records, and can you tell me who holds the single season passing record for the Carolina Panthers? I will be pretty impressed if you can get this.
Okay, single season record. Is it Jake Delhomme?
It's not Jake Delhomme, and it's not Cam Newton.
Uh, I don't know if I can think of any other quarterbacks for the Panthers other than those two.
Those two are
Uh,
who you'd think it would be.
yeah,
Those would
it's
be
not
my
Andy
first two guess.
Dalton.
It's not Andy Dalton.
I'm really struggling to think of any
It's not
quarterbacks
Rodney
for the
Peete.
Panthers.
It's not Gary
Can you
Collins.
can you give me a decade?
This was in the 90s.
Okay, I definitely will
This is
not
one of
know.
the first. This is might have been the first season of the Panthers. No, this is
And
one of their very
is
first
it one I
seasons.
wouldn't get? Is it one I wouldn't get because it's a quarterback I've not heard of, or because it's a quarterback I've heard of that I would be shocked was on the Panthers?
It's the second one. I'm pretty sure you've heard of this guy, but uh,
Is it
I did
Doug
not know he
Flutie?
played for this team. It's not Doug Flutie.
Okay,
This guy
that's my
was
general
in his
two, I
age
guess.
34 season, and not only it was this quarterback's age 34 season, it's the most yards he ever passed for a team. It's the only time he got over 4,000 yards. This guy was kind of a backup. I'll give it to you. All right, are you ready?
All right, yeah,
It was Steve Berline.
no way.
He is the
That's
single
held.
season passing leader in 1999. I think it was their fifth season.
And
He went
that
8-8. He threw for 4,436 yards,
it's insane that that's held.
36 touchdowns and
They,
15 interceptions. A nice little season for him, honestly.
yeah,
His
they've had good seasons since then. They've made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Cam Newton's
That's
number
crazy.
2. He threw for just a hair over 4,000 yards in 2011, 4,051. But those are the only two. I always like the 4,000 yard season as like a mark for like really good quarterback season. And the Panthers have only had two 4,000 yard passers: Steve Berline and Cam Newton. All right, just a quick little. I just love getting lost in Pro Football Reference and just learning about fucking
Sure,
Steve
yeah.
Berline. Um, another of the big the I don't know if this is I'm not gonna do all the math on this stupid shit, but one of the bigger swings is the Chiefs game. Chiefs are playing the Colts.
Mhm.
They win. They win. It'll be at 68%. They lose. It'll plummet to 35%. They're, I think, in what, like third place in the AFC West
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
the Broncos and Chargers. Yeah, third place. They're at 500, and the Chiefs have owned the Broncos for Patrick Mahomes' entire career. I think that was only his second loss to the Broncos, and the other one was to Russell Wilson like a year ago. So it's for a
Right.
long time the Chiefs just hammered the Broncos, and it was so frustrating as a Broncos fan. And last week was pretty awesome for me personally, and I did something that I do many Monday mornings this season, especially. I have hate listening to podcasts of teams that I hate,
Yeah.
and I listened to a couple of Chiefs podcasts, and I was actually pretty surprised at how like done they sound with this team and Andy Reid. Not like they want to fire him, but
Yeah.
like the way things are. I was expecting them to be like, guys, I know it looks bad. I was expecting them to be like glass half full. They're pretty fed up, the Chiefs fans, like with how Andy Reid is calling some of these games and the way the team has been sort of organized and the way that they just keep trying to rely on Patrick Mahomes making magic every single game, and it was it was honestly music to my ears, but it took me off guard at how and it made me kind of put into perspective for me how actually bad this Chiefs team is, because I've been saying pretty much all season, I've been saying like maybe going into it I was more down on them, but my thing I keep coming back to with the Chiefs is like, you guys come on, like it's the Chiefs, like they're gonna go deep in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
as these weeks go on, I now think that they're actually more like those, like the Patriots teams in between, because they had the first run of Super Bowls and they had the late run of Super Bowls with Tom Brady. In the middle,
Yeah.
they were still like good and would make the playoffs, but they weren't really seriously contending for Super Bowls. And I think that's kind of where we're at with this Chiefs team right now
Yeah, well, I think Chiefs fans
in
too
their like
almost got
history.
got like trial runs of feeling this way over the last 2 years. 'Cause I feel like in both of the last 2 years, even sometimes going into the season and especially after, maybe slow starts, there was a lot of talks about, is this it for the Chiefs? Is this as much as
Yeah,
you can do without having like a big name wide receiver? And I think they got at least like a couple of weeks of, feeling like the Chiefs were done. So it's not like it's been, although like when you get to the end of the season, and you look at it, it's like you can't really argue anything, but the Chiefs have been dominant. There have been these stretches where they felt mortal, as to say, or like people are saying, the other shoe's about to drop. So I think because that's happened, they're not dropping from like all the way to the top to where I think they realistically are now. I think there's been some suspicion that this was going to happen, and it made it maybe more real for them. I also kind of think if they do make the playoffs, it's one of those things. They've been there before. Patrick Mahomes can make stuff happen. They still could go deep even if they're not that good, which would annoy me because they always do the people say we couldn't do it thing, even when no
yeah,
one
even
said that. But this year they kind of would have the right to, which would not be very fun. But yeah, the Chiefs, weirdly bad, but almost a way you would have expected them to be bad last year or the year before, and it's just one of those things.
I mean, if they're not in the playoffs, I'm gonna be jumping up and down. Like that is so. I don't even want to. I don't even want to jinx it by bringing it into the world. But if they lose this game against the Colts, I think this is probably the most important game of the weekend.
Right. I think
I
it's a
don't know. I don't think
weird thing
that's
too.
that crazy.
Yeah, because I was looking at the Colts wins. Part of it, I have trouble seeing Daniel Jones as like a legit, um, you know, championship level starting quarterback. But I was going back to the Colts win, and for like the most part, they have not been against the greatest teams. Although, like some of them,
Mm.
like what do you consider a great team? So, for example, they beat the Broncos in a really close game. Those are two teams with great records, so it's like two Titans going against each other. Maybe I just have trouble letting go of how I feel about both the teams. They're both teams that I'm like a little bit unsure of. They lost to the Rams. I mean, they smashed the Raiders. Played the Cardinals like close. They beat the Chargers,
That
which
I
I
think
guess
that
is impressive. They lost to the
that was
Steelers.
Jacoby Brissett's first start. I think. when they played the Cardinals. So that was he kind of stuck up on him and put a bunch
Oh,
of
I
he put
see.
yeah, he threw over 300 yards on them. But they did win. But yeah,
From
I know I get
what
what
do you
you're
think?
saying. Some of these wins aren't super impressive against
Right,
these teams.
here's I know the Steelers Bears is that one of the games this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Steelers are a team I really don't know what to make of. It's like the Colts lost to the Steelers at the beginning of this month. Um, I don't know if that's damning or not. I can't let go to the Steelers went life or death with the Jets in week one. I think is not a good sign. But this is one of those things too. Like we're talking about the Chiefs now, where they're like a historically great team with a bunch of winners, but they're looking bad this season. It's like if the Colts lose to the Chiefs, not even thinking about just playoff odds, like how consequential is that in how you view the Colts? Is that them losing to perennial champions, or is that them losing to a team that's in trouble? And then you start to wonder if they have another loss like that, if maybe this Colts team isn't everything it's chalked up to be. I feel like it's like pretty important, at least for how I'm gonna view them, because I think the Chiefs are bad, and if the Colts lose to them, I think maybe it's confirmation bias, but I'm gonna stay kind of on fraud watch, I suppose, for the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you look at their schedule after that, I mean, they played the Texans, who, as we've discussed, have really good defense, but offense is pretty bad. They still haven't played the Jaguars at all, so they play them twice in the rest of the season. Seahawks
Jeez.
have a good defense. Niners, their defense
Oh, they
is
play the Texans twice too.
yeah, and then the Texans again. So yeah, I think a lot of the division games are backloaded this year. I mean, maybe they do that every year, but it feels like the Bears haven't played the Packers at all yet.
Yeah.
Um, Stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, they're playing in an easy division. I mean, they get to be in a division with the Titans, so that's
Yeah.
two automatic wins. Uh, yeah, I don't know. And what is it going to be? But the thing about how weird the AFC is that how it might not even be that hard of a road to make the Super Bowl if you're the Colts. So you especially after you
Right.
beat if you beat the Chiefs, you're gonna feel invincible. You're gonna be like that clip that they always show from oh god, Eastbound and Down, where he's like,
For
I
sure.
feel
Yeah.
10 feet tall right now and strong as
Yeah.
a ox. That's gonna be the Colts if they win next week,
Yeah.
because it's like, what are you gonna be able to say to them? They're a 10-win team. You can have problems with them, but they're gonna be like, dude, we can only beat the teams in front of us. I don't know
Yeah,
what you
that's
want us to
true.
do. And in the playoffs, they're if they have the number one seed, they're not gonna have to play Buffalo or fucking Baltimore or Kansas City on the road at all. So I mean, they'll be like, we don't. It reminds me of to talk about basketball again. The Nuggets road to the
Mhm.
title. Everyone says how weak it was, but it's like, okay, well, first of all, they did win the games. I mean, still have to go out there and win
Dude,
them.
yeah.
Go back and look at what the experts were saying against especially the series against Phoenix and the Lakers. Many of the most prominent people were picking the quote unquote underdogs anyway. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It might be an easy
Yeah, I
path, but they don't care.
that's fair too. But it's like and then maybe again, this is maybe me just thinking of things that'll confirm how I feel about the Colts. But say they lose to the Chiefs, I don't think
Yeah,
you hit the emergency button, right? Say they lose to the Chiefs, beat the Texans, lose to the Jaguars. Then do you start thinking maybe something's up here? Or it's like again, the Jaguars are another kind of confounding team. I think they're
yeah,
not
yeah.
good, but they could be. Um, I don't know. I feel like this is the year I'm most like confounded by everything. I feel like usually at this point in the year, I have like four teams I consider powerhouses, and I don't know that I can say that this year. Again, partially because I just can't get that whatever bad Bo Nix game out of my mind. Maybe I would consider the Broncos powerhouses. Just like even the Bills have had weird games.
Oh yeah, the Bills are
Um,
really weird.
I'm a high I'm high on the Ravens with Lamar back, but they've also looked bad. Like I'm just trying to think about who the undeniable teams in the league are, and it just feels like it's less clear now than it has been the last couple of years. I don't know if maybe it's just the good teams don't have the classic star power, and then maybe in like 3 years I'll look back and feel silly I ever doubted half of these people. But I mean, it's really fun.
Yeah,
There's fewer games like in I feel like most years, especially the last couple weeks of the season, there can be like a 3 o'clock window of games where you don't want to watch any of them. And I find myself pretty interested in most matchups here, even the ones that are bad on paper, just because it feels like any team could fall apart at any time.
yeah, it is kind of one of the murkier years we've seen, and even some of the top, even like the Eagles, we've chronicled they're 8-2, and they still, I mean, based on how their beat reporters talk and how their fans talk, it's like they're going through a crisis every week. It's like even the good teams are plagued by just weirdness, but it does make for good games, and I think part of it is like I don't know if I'm not really smart enough of an X's and O's person to really be able to prove this, but I'd like to see someone who is try to chronicle like the strategically, like how coaches game plan, how coaches like build teams and do things on a season to season basis. Is like the defense is kind of catching up with
Right.
some of these. Like everyone's like it's for the few years it was like, oh hey, all you got to do is just get a freak quarterback and just let it rip. But it's like
Right.
now all that like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all having their struggles this season, and I think part of that is due to other teams loading up and being like, all right, well, we're just gonna shut that down. We're just gonna not allow that and like start building things from the defense. And it's worked for the Broncos. It's
Sure.
the Texans try to do that. It's not really working, but I don't know. I think it's like strategies are sort of changing and like how the game evolves over years. We might look back on the second half of the 2020s decade and be like, wow, that was when defense kind of started to rule a little bit and the offense had to adjust.
Yeah, and I don't even know what innovations you can make to get around the improvement you're seeing in the defenses. Like I don't think you can get around it just getting a pocket passer back. I don't think like the Wildcats going to become the thing to do. It seems to me there's like kind of a ceiling on offensive innovation in a certain way. But I mean, maybe that's what people think all the time, and then they get made to look silly.
Yeah, that's
But
like the quote from the IBM CEO that's like all technology has gone as far as it can go. If it's a quote from like
yeah,
1993. I
yeah.
think
So it's
you want to know what I think is the next big offensive innovation, and we've seen very very small hints at it. Sometimes like deep in the playoffs is like laterals and pitching the ball after
uh,
it's been caught, like rugby style shit. I think that
interesting.
is. I don't know if it's gonna become like every single play that's happening, but I think
Well,
that's one of the only like ways it can go because it's like how much better can quarterbacks get? I mean, you're just gonna have guys that throw for 500 yards and run for 100 yards every game. Like that's we're reaching a limit of like human athletic ability. So it's gonna people are gonna have to start cutting corners or getting smart
well,
about stuff like that.
it would be interesting because the lateral now, like the issue is it's such a high risk because you could fumble the ball
Right.
backwards 20 yards. But I wonder, it's like a lot of the people that are coming into the not to keep bringing up NBA, but are coming into the NBA now are the people that grew up watching Steph Curry like play. So now they're obsessed with shooting threes in a way that no one has ever been before, and you're seeing these big men that can shoot like we've never seen, or just the amount of shooting, partially because the
And
analytics say threes are the
handles.
best. Whatever, you have these kids, yeah. So it's like I don't know if it would take. You have to have one guy that's really great at laterals, or maybe I guess two guys, so they can lateral to each other, and these kids watch it, and then in 15 years, Pee Wee football's all laterals, and then it trickles its way up to the NFL. Uh, or yeah, maybe you have a rugby player that breaks through in the NFL in a way one hasn't before. Um, I don't know. Another thing, like I think wouldn't work, but like if someone could make it work, I'd really like is actually having like two QBs that you just switch in and out. And I know like sometimes the Steelers would do that last year, but it was like silly because it's like either
It was
Justin
Russell
Fields is going to
Wilson.
run it, yeah, or but it's like if you had two And then you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. I get that, but I'm just always curious if there's some way to make that work, or if you have one of the quarterbacks out wide, lateral in the ball. Like if you just did trick play stuff all the time, I mean, there's really no reason to think it would work. But it's like you're saying, it's especially with like the rules around formations and stuff. It's tough to think of how you can innovate beyond where we are. But as you said, people have said that before.
I mean, the 1977 Broncos tried doing the double quarterback thing with Craig Morton and Craig Penrose. Or
Interesting.
maybe it wasn't 77, but there was a period I feel like in the 70s where or like 60s and 70s where teams were trying to do the two quarterback thing, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Bears have done that a few times this season. Went in a couple select like trick plays where they've had Tyson Bagent and
Invasion,
Caleb
yeah.
Williams on the field before. Like maybe that's that. Maybe you Tyson Bagent's a very different quarterback than Caleb Williams, so maybe that's the blueprint. Is you have two like wildly different quarterbacks on the field at the same time. So it's like, wait, what's going to happen?
Mhm.
Do they actually throw it? I don't know.
I
Someone
noticed
should hire
Tyson
us.
Bagent's dad. Yeah, Tyson Bagent's dad has stopped leaking to the media since they've let him line up at wide receiver. So maybe that's what he wanted all along.
Well, his dad is. You've seen the videos of him, right? He's like an arm wrestling champion guy.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
little
he's
too much.
awesome. It was just awesome. I think it was maybe over the summer this year, maybe it was last year. There was all these things about like Caleb Williams can't read, and I feel like it was all coming from Tyson Bagent's dad,
I
which
was
I don't have
crazy.
any confirmation of, but
There was, I mean, if we were to do a quick little tangent into Chicago sports media discussion, there was a. Did you see the fallout of how what that was reported and like who picked it up and like had the guy on the podcast and people got really mad at the CHGO podcast for picking it up and having the guy on the next day and like not
I didn't.
critically engaging it really at all.
I was so confused about it because I'm not like the most plugged into that. So I was like, why are so many people reporting on this thing that seems like it's from like a random like Substack or website I've never heard of? And then some people are like, well, no, this guy's actually like a real reporter. But like to me, just looking at it, I was like, this seems like on its face like stupid.
Yeah, it was like not it kind of came out of no one was saying stuff like that really before. So if it had been one of those things where there was like rumors
Yeah,
of it or something and then it came out in here, but I don't know. And it was all if you read the quotes, it does kind of read like just people who were fired and were aggrieved. And it's like when you
sure.
quit your job and you're like, those fucking idiots could do this shit without me, dude. They're morons, dude. They don't do anything. That's why I had to leave. It's like, yeah, you got fired. I don't know. Football's messy.
Yeah,
I do think Caleb Williams can read, for the record. That's what we believe on
me
this
too. Yeah.
podcast. Um, and but it's just one more thing before we go ahead and pick the games. I think is because we were kind of talking about the Bills for a minute, or sort of these top teams in the AFC and their sort of issues, and the Bills receiving situation has been really weird.
Yeah.
And I know you want to talk about Keon Coleman a little bit. He's like getting suspended from practice a lot, or like what's going on with him? He's
Yeah,
getting
my
benched
understanding is
tonight.
yeah, so he's benched tonight, which is the Thursday night football game. He's not going to be playing. He was benched last week. It's weird because it sounds like, at least from what I'm reading, and I haven't read like the most into it, is it has to do with him being constantly late to like team meetings and practice and stuff like that. But it's really weird because I forget who it was, but one of the members of the Bills in like a post game interview was like really kind of harsh in a way you don't usually see, even with this disciplinary stuff. You'll see guys kind of give the political answer, shrug it off. But one of his teammates said he needs like a wake up call.
Oh,
It's also weird to me because all I've heard about is being late. It's almost more confounding than someone that has like a worse behavior going on. And it's like maybe a harder thing to fix. Where it's like he's on a great football team and he's just late. Um, I don't know, but it's like he's getting treated pretty harshly. So it must be really disruptive. But I also don't get it because he's not that He's not bad by any means, but like I'm just looking at the Bills depth chart here. They have Khalil Shakir, Josh Palmer, Tyrell Shavers, they have Elijah Moore, and then they have Keon Coleman. And it's like I don't know that he has the pull to get away with this for very long.
Yeah, that's my question. Is like he's a second round draft pick. It's a second year. Were they like expecting him to be like a guy that contributes at a high level, like it's like your wide receiver two, maybe? Like, were they trying to get him to be that, and that's why they're really upset by this? I think this is just sort of a symptom of the pressure that the Bills' offense feels. Like
Mhm.
nobody is really performing really all that well, except for Josh Allen, and even he has some stinkers every once in a while, or goes through stretches where play to play where he looks bad sometimes. So not to say he's escaped, not to say like free my man's he's innocent, but like it
Mhm.
almost kind of feels like a scapegoat situation maybe a little bit, and maybe it's one of those things where he's just kind of a piece of shit and is unpleasant to be around and is just a bad teammate, and him being late is the one thing they can actually ding him on. Like they can't suspend him for just
Right.
being annoying, but that he's like 8 minutes late and they're like, you know what, you're not playing. Ba- Due to all it's a buildup of like the whole week where he's like not maybe he's not going very hard in practice. He's just like not paying attention to film. He's like kind of I'm inferring a lot. This poor guy, who knows what's going on with the Bills, but it's not good. It's not they need freaking Tyrell Shavers is their best receiver or second best receiver. Like it can't like you were saying like this mobile like it just having the Josh Allen based offense doesn't work. You guys have seen this not work. Like
Yeah.
somebody has to step up, but who's not Josh Allen on offense? James Cook has done a great job.
Well,
James Cook, one of the best running backs in the NFL, I think, but specifically pass catchers, receivers, and tight ends.
yeah, what's weird because last year they didn't have like a great on paper looking receiving room either, and I thought that was going to hurt them, and I similarly thought it was going to hurt the Chiefs, and then they obviously, both did fine. So going into this year, I was like less worried about how the receiving room looked. But I don't know, maybe we're seeing that it actually does matter a bit more. But I don't know, maybe we'll be proved wrong.
Well, let's just go ahead and go right into the picks from here because this is I think a good transition. The Bills play the Texans as we've mentioned tonight on Thursday Night Football. And this is you're gonna be entered into the annals of the NFL of the forced takeaways picks. So this will go on record. You can't change this.
I was going to
So just
ask you,
think
do
about
you,
it.
do you guys have your win percentage for the season so far for both of you?
Um, yeah, I have it right. I'm not the percentages, but Jacobs 94-49. He had a great week
Okay,
last week. He I think he
that's
only
great.
missed two. He only missed two games, and I'm 99-45. I I
Oh, that's pretty great.
Jacob did noticeably better than me last week. We only picked two games wrong. We both of us picked the Chargers last
Mhm.
week, which was an oopsie, and he picked the Seahawks in the Seahawks Rams game. But those are his only two losses.
Sweet.
He famously picked the Broncos, and I picked the Chiefs because I was didn't believe in Bo. I was wrong again,
Yeah.
but yeah. So
Team.
this will be your first entry into the pick. So choose wisely.
Sweet.
I'm picking the Texans in this one for the record. I love the Bills. They're my number two team on my dad's side, but they're too up and down this year. Thursday games are really weird, and as we've seen from the Broncos, having a really good defense at home in a shitty rock fight Thursday night game is kind of gives you an edge.
Yeah, I get that. I'm going with Bills, and part of it is because Davis is like the kind of athlete I've like spent my life being wrong, hyping up too much, and I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to be more think more with my brain than my heart. I think it'll be a fun game. I'm really tempted to pick the Texans, but especially because I want to get a good record to start out here. I'm going with the safer pick of the Bills. Though I don't disagree with anything you said.
Um, Next is so we're in the noon games here on Sunday now. Start with Colts at Chiefs. Another couple teams we've discussed at length here on today's episode. I'm I'm gonna go with the Colts. I think the demise of the Chiefs is maybe a little bit exaggerated, but they are playing like certainly substandard Kansas City football. So I gotta reiterate too, the response from the Chiefs fans is like pretty surprising. Like they're just it's not going good for them. One of their big problems they have is Andy Reid keeps throwing the ball on like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. Like he's
Right.
going for it on 4th down more often, but he's throwing the shit out. He like completely abandoning the run game. And their running
I
backs
hate
aren't
that.
amazing or anything, but yeah, why wouldn't you throw the ball a million times a game with Patrick Mahomes? But it's pissing off Chiefs Nation. But I'm
No,
going with
I
Colts.
get doing that. The only thing worse than that is running out of shotgun on like 3rd and 1. That really drives me up the wall. Um, but I'm going to, not to be contrarian with your picks, but I'm going to go Chiefs here because I'm not quite a Colts believer. It's hard for me to fathom the Chiefs not making the playoffs. I think they really need to win here to make that happen. And again, I guess I'm also trying to speak into existence, even though like I think it would be awesome if the Colts were great, but I just something inside me is not saying it yet, and I think this may be one of the things that shows they're not quite what their record makes them seem to be.
You gotta you gotta trust your gut. I mean, what can you do? Next, this game, I think we will fall in line on this game. This is a sort of an easier choice. Seahawks at Titans.
Yeah, taking Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
gonna go
really
Seahawks on.
don't need to go too into it.
Poor Titans.
Yeah,
Don't need to
but
check
at least
don't need to look up their playoff probability. I think we know.
no, unfortunate.
All right, next is some of these NFC North games that are there's in the last 5 weeks of the season there's literally like 700 NFC North division matchups. They backloaded the shit out of all these NFC North division
I'm
games,
excited
so
for
it's
all of it.
gonna be a treat for us here in the NFC North portion of the country. Vikings at Packers is on the slate here. These are actually a couple of teams that are sort of hard to parse. In the murky, muddy season, these are a couple of the murkiest and muddiest teams. Certainly in the NFC, Vikings coming off a loss to the Bears, where JJ McCarthy kind of looked like shit. Packers won a gritty Jameis Winston Giants game in Big Blue. But yeah, the Packers are one of the teams that the way you feel about the Colts is kind of the way I feel about the Packers. Is that
Mhm.
something about it is just not clicking for me, and I know a lot of people like them, and I know they're good, and I know our very good friend David loves them. Shout out to him. We'll have him
Mhm.
on pod soon, but there's no real particular thing I can really point to with them, and I think Packers fans kind of feel like this too. Like I haven't listened to any Packers podcasts this season, but Packers Nation doesn't seem to be as really in love with this team as they have been in years past. And yeah, something about the Packers not really clicking for me, but I don't know if I could pick them over the Vikings because they're a team that I'm even more wishy-washy about. Because I just don't like JJ McCarthy. He just annoys me, and I root against him, and he pisses me off. I don't like how much eye
Mhm.
black he wears, among other things. But
Sure.
gosh, I don't know. I probably will go with the Packers in this one, actually.
Yeah, I'm going with Packers too, and in part QB centric view of things, but it's just like when you think about, Packers and Colts being teams that are, I mean, I guess the Colts are really only confounding to me at this point. But I just think about, I believe in Jordan Love. He's made some great throws. I was really annoyed that thing I was talking about where it's like 4th and 1 and you run it out of the shotgun. The Packers did it in that Eagles game. It made me mad. And then also, kind of concerning to have a one score game with the Jameis Winston Giants team. uh, so I'm picking Packers, but it's almost like you're saying it's almost more about. I think the Vikings are the only true dud of that division right now.
Oh
So it's
no.
just tough for me to pick them.
Yeah. Um. Next is your Jets traveling down to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, and Ravens are for me as a Broncos fan, they're one of the teams I've hated the most in the past years. But recently,
Uh-huh.
it's been more. The hatred for them is kind of like softened because it's just like, dude, you know what? Lamar Jackson's like really good and fun to watch. Like I can't. I
Mhm.
hated the Ray Lewis era Ravens.
Sure.
That like they were one of my top hated teams. But Lamar Jackson's fun to watch, and I can't really hate on him too much. I don't really hate them as a team all that much anymore. But I do hate John Harbaugh. Kind of
Sure.
sick of not hate him, but just like I'm sick of him. I schadenfreude listened to Ravens podcast one time just so I can hear them complain about him. Like I think his tenure is just about up, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know how many more like narrow, frustrating playoff losses that franchise can handle with someone as good as Lamar Jackson, who's definitely is Super Bowl caliber player. Like it's kind of if he can win even one Super Bowl, he'll be cemented as like one of the best quarterbacks of the century. Like
Definitely.
so, it's just frustrating. Even though I don't, they're one of my AFC sort of like rivals. It's kind of like crazy to watch them just piss away all these years of championship caliber defenses and quarterback play. I really don't think I could pick the Jets in this game. But basically, what I'm trying to say is like the Ravens aren't it this year. They were my Super Bowl pick going into the season, and
Mhm.
I feel really stupid about that because they so clearly don't have the juice, and people keep being like Ravens are back, Lamar Jackson's healthy again, but I don't think I don't think
Uh-huh.
he's 100% healthy. They are
No,
constantly
definitely
doing
not.
injury fuck shit with they're constantly screwing around the injury report. He's not playing 100%. The the receivers are not very good. Derrick Henry's old. The defense is underperforming, and Jim whatever. I always get them confused. I still can't get their
Yeah.
names right after all these years. Baltimore Harbaugh just keeps making all
Mhm.
these confounding decisions in big games and big moments. But it makes me really hard to pick them in any game that against like a quality opponent. But no offense, the Jets
No
are
worries.
one of the worst teams in the league this year, but I still feel like they could lose this game. I'm gonna pick them. I'm gonna pick the Ravens, but their trust with me right now is like threadbare. Like they are hanging on by an absolute thread in my mind.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens too, and part of it is, the Jets are so bad, and I think this is like really up there as like the most unwatchable Jets team of the last few years. Even like there was games when Zach Wilson was in there or Mike White was in there where they would like have some fun and maybe could sneak up on a team like the Ravens. Like not something you'd expect, but like it could happen. But I think there's like literally no chance that it happens here. It's just so bad. So I'm gonna go with Ravens here. And I don't know. I'm looking at the Ravens schedule. Do you know when Joe Burrow is supposed to be back?
They're I just heard on the podcast today he was a full participant in practice on
Okay, because
Wednesday to today, and they've for the past few days I've been hearing that they want him to come back in on Thanksgiving for the Thanksgiving game. They played Baltimore, so that
it's
could
what I'm
be
saying. I
his
think that
first game.
they play the Bengals twice and the Steelers twice.
Yeah,
I think they'll beat the Steelers both times. But I was saying if without Burrow, they could beat the Bengals. But I'm less sure with him. Although I mean, his first game back, who knows? That'll be pretty fun. Sometimes that late Thanksgiving game is not fun. I'm glad it's looking to hopefully be a good one because I'll
um,
watch it no matter what, even if it's like dog shit. So it would be nice if it was good, but I just can't stop myself.
yeah. On last week's episode, I was kind of hemming and hawing about is it even worth it to have Joe Burrow in? I've come around now, and I'm like, yeah, of course you fucking put Joe Burrow in, dude. Like that would come off as way too conservative and flaccid to be like, oh yeah, we have 100% completely healthy Joe Burrow, but we're just gonna sit him for the last whatever 6 weeks of the season just because we're scared. Like, just play him, just play him. Football players should play football, I think, and maybe it's a pipe dream and a long shot. And there's no chance in hell they're gonna make the playoffs, let alone fucking go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. But yeah, fucking put him in there and let it rip. Who cares?
That
Next game
playoff zoom out
is
thing up.
Uh, what are the Bengals on it?
If they beat
What'd
the
you say?
Patriots with their playoff. Do you know what the Bengals playoff odds are if they beat the Patriots this week?
Let me pull up my little thing. Let's see. I think they're
Is that on there?
yeah, Bengals. Yeah, with a win, they would this week against the Patriots. With the win, their playoff chances would be 4%, and if they lose, it would be less than one
Oh, it's
percent.
that bad. Okay. Okay,
So
never
it's
mind.
pretty bad. There's the Falcons, Bengals, Dolphins, Saints, Cardinals, Browns, Commanders, Raiders, Jets, Titans, and Giants are in what I would describe as the bullshit category, where it's like
Yeah.
not happening.
Well, it's like the Bengals are only 2 games behind the Ravens, 3 games behind the Steelers. I think Steelers realistically could fall apart, but maybe I'm
Love to
wish
see that.
casting. Although I don't really know if I want that, but I just don't know about the Steelers.
I haven't checked in a minute, but pretty late into the season, they were still saying that the Ravens were the betting favorite to win the AFC East. And they probably still are, even though they're
Yeah,
two
it
games
makes
back
sense.
or one game back. All right, next game is Giants at Lions. Uh, don't really have a ton of confidence in the. I call it Frank Kafka's. He's running the Metamorphosis offense.
Yeah.
um, I mean, I don't know. Jackson Dart might come back in this game, but yeah, the Giants are, like I said, they're in the bullshit category. So I'm gonna go with the Lions in this one.
Okay.
Okay. This is you guys want to know how many pages the NFL picks Google Doc is? We're sitting at 22 pages long.
Oh my
I'm
God.
doing a lot of it. I'm doing a lot of indents. It's not really that. All right, yeah, where's fuck that game? Steelers at Bears. Aaron Rodgers making a return to a place he knows very well, Soldier Field. Um, this is gonna be a good game, I think. And I'm gonna pick the Bears because I think the clock is almost up with Aaron Rodgers, and it's gonna be interesting to see as the season goes on if he takes a few more hits. He's probably not gonna take a ton of hits in this game because
Right.
The Bears have like a negative pass rush. I mean, the Bears can really. I mean, if they get one sack in a game, they're the local game, so I'm sure like you, like the Bears are always on TV, so I've watched every Bears game this season, and it feels like if they get one sack, it's like, oh my god, hallelujah, like it feels like a miracle. But they are the NFL leader in interceptions, and
Yeah.
I think they're definitely going to pick off Rodgers once or twice in this game, and that's kind of all that matters. I feel like this Bears. I said it last week, but this Bears defense is like a character, like if a skill tree RPG character where you are just every time you get a EXP point, you're adding it to interceptions. Then not
Yeah.
they're going there. It's a full interception build, and it's kind of working. Again, I don't know how it's going to go late in the season against some better quarterbacks if you have fucking zero pass rush, but pretty
Right.
cool to be the interception team. Like that feels awesome to watch.
Yeah, this is tough for me because I'm trying to be more head and heart guy, and like not think about narrative stuff and plot armor and whatnot. But I think like one of the places where you're safe to do that is Aaron Rodgers versus the Bears.
Oh
Um,
no.
and I just got to take him, even if most of the points you made like tough to argue with. And I'm not super high on the Steelers overall, but I just think Aaron Rodgers rolling in there. It's just his plot armor or whatever you want to say against the Bears in Chicago. He haunts their dreams for a reason.
Oh god.
I think he'll turn
The thing
on, and I know he's old, but I think maybe this will be his last hurrah. Even
Are there even any who on this Bears roster was even around for the Aaron Rodgers Packers years? I'd like to know. Let me just sorry, I
yeah,
just
probably
want to
not
quickly
many. Yeah,
peruse the
give that a
Bears
look for
roster.
sure.
I don't want to, I'm not gonna do like a full
This could be his last time ever at Soldier Field.
shit. That's kind of crazy. I bet he kind of surprised me how like mellow and like nostalgic he kind of seems almost like when the game, especially in that game against the Packers, all the footage of him like talking to all the trainers and all that type of stuff. Like, I wonder if he's going to be a little bit like I miss this place. Like, maybe it'll be too much for him. I don't know. I'm not as that good of. I'm not as much of a Bears expert, so I can't really. Yeah, Jaquan Brisker, no, he wasn't. Yeah, I'd have to do a deeper dive on that, but I'm not sure anyone on this Bears team even. There might be like 2 or 3 guys who faced Aaron Rodgers as a Packer, who are still on the Bears. So it
Yeah, they're
might be
gonna
one of
learn.
those. It might be one of those. Well, either they're gonna learn, or it's gonna be one of those things where it's like the fans are worried about it because the fans are definitely still like scarred by it.
Sure.
But the players are gonna be like, dude, bro, we were like in middle school and that shit was going on. We don't give a
Well,
shit
yeah, I'm
about
gonna
that.
say
We're gonna.
if there's like 2 or 3 interceptions, people are gonna lose their mind here.
Oh my god, Mary is gonna.
Yeah,
They still hate watch Aaron Rodgers. They definitely
right.
still hate him,
Well,
and
they must have
and
had a
and
great time
obviously
last
still the
year.
Packers. Yeah,
It's been tough for
like this.
Mary as a Jets fan.
Yeah, she's not as involved with the Jets as she was with the Bears. She just has a soft spot for
Right.
him, kind of like I do with the Bills. But she does have like Bears like hats and shirts she wears sometimes. But last week we went to a bar to watch the Bears game, and I saw these ladies come in, and I overheard her say to the bartender, like, can we get this TV to have the Packers game on it? And she was, wearing a coat, so I couldn't see what she was wearing, but I overheard it and was like, oh no, they're gonna be like loud, obnoxious Packer fans. It's gonna like piss Mary off and piss her friends off. But it turns out they were Bears fans and they just wanted to have the Packers fans on to hate watch it. They were like going back
Right.
and forth between them and like cheering and stuff. It was really funny. All right, next is Patriots at Bengals. Hmm. Probably not gonna have Joe Burrow. Yeah, Joe Burrow and this Bengals defense. I mean, when it's all said and done, when the season's over, this legit might be one of the statistically worst NFL defenses in the history of football. Like for real, in every metric: pass, run, red
Mhm.
zone, short yardage, long yardage, explosive plays, does everything. It's gonna be bad. So, and it's been my loathing for the Patriots has been chronicled on this podcast, but unfortunately they are good. And maybe it's a thing like you said of the Colts where they're I think they're even the more extreme example of the Colts where their schedule is really really nothing to write home about. I mean, these are the teams they've beat are the Raiders, include the Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, Browns, Falcons. Jets. These are some of the worst. These are teams that are going to be top
Right.
5 picks. So, but again, whatever, man. You got to play the teams that are on your schedule, and if they're all bad, then they're all bad, and they're going to have home field advantage in the playoffs, and they might win this fucking division if Buffalo keeps fucking around. So, yeah, I'm going Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going Patriots too. Especially with Joe Flacco in there. Um, yeah, these Patriots they could win out, but they have what Giants. I guess Bills. If they can beat the Bills, they're their only real true test. Although, isn't there some belief in like the Dolphins
You
having like
know,
a late push?
people keep saying that, but they're in the bullshit category on my little playoff predictor
Right.
thing. But that I guess to be fair, that graph only counts this week. I think with the
Mhm.
Dolphins, people are projecting things about their future schedule as well as the future schedule of the teams that had their sort of rivals for the sort of wild card spot,
Mhm.
like the Jaguars and Chargers and stuff. So yeah, the Dolphins' upcoming schedule: Saints, Jets, Steelers, Bengals, Buccaneers, Patriots. That's pretty. I mean, but let's see, if they win their next 4 games, they would be 8-7. I don't know. I guess there's a narrow path for them probably, but that's not fucking happening, folks.
Well,
Sorry.
it's tough for those last three if it's Bengals with Burrow, Buccaneers, Patriots. Like that's kind of enough to I think say
Yeah,
it probably won't happen.
that's kind of a gauntlet. And all 3 of those, well, at least the Bengals and Buccaneers will definitely be fighting for a playoff spot, and they'll be trying
Right.
in those games. Unlike the Patriots in Week 18, might rest their starters if they have to. They're liable to. Um, Next is Browns at Raiders. Yikes, dude. I
I'm kind
mean,
of
you.
excited for this one, to be honest. This should be because I think that Sanders is going to start, so it's like there's
Yeah,
some narrative there. Weird teams. I haven't really watched much of the Raiders. Is Gino injured, or is he just feels like he pops out of every game for a couple plays?
I mean, he's definitely hurt. I don't know if he's like has an injury designation, but he is not. I mean, he's 36 or something, right? Like he.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was another thing in the Broncos Raiders game. I was like, I can't believe they're keeping him in here, dude. Like it's kind of malpractice that he was continuing to go out there. The other guy did come in for a minute, but yeah, Raiders. One of the biggest disappointments of the entire season, and that's really saying something because I don't nobody really thought they were going to be all that great, but it's still just like
I
yikes,
got
man.
I forget some podcast I listened to was very high on them, and I fully bought in.
Uh,
Boy, do I feel silly.
I mean, I fucking bought into it. I think a lot of us football fans were duped by Pete Carroll. I think it's kind of
Mhm.
crazy how he grifted us. Like, and again, I was well. I mean, I did pick them for a wild card spot. Actually, I'll own that. I'll sit in that. On our one of our last episodes before the season started, we were saying, playoff predictions, and I said the Raiders were gonna get a wild card spot. And fuck me for saying that. It's unbelievable. It's sacrilegious. I should get my Broncos card revoked for even thinking about that. But I very foolishly thought that having Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, and Geno Smith in the building would lead to some semblance of order and like a plan and a
Right.
vision. And Austin Genty being one of the best running back prospects in our lives is like, I don't know, man. It seems like it could kind of work. Not necessarily that it would be like they'd win the division or win 10 games or anything, but like I was like, I don't know, it could pop, they could be kind of a fun sort of mid team, but it's been a complete fucking nightmare. And Pete Carroll is like Delulu, dude. Like in his post, his press conferences are kind of a trip to watch because, and Las Vegas isn't like necessarily the most hard hitting news. They're not like the New York sports media, but
Yeah.
they're asking him like like they're not being like, hey, why do you suck so fucking hard? They're just asking him normal questions, and he's getting all pissy and pointed at him, and it's like this is getting ugly pretty fast. I think, but I again hate listen to a Raiders podcast the other day, and even they were saying, look, Pete Carroll is like has never coached a like rebuilding. He's not a player development coach. He's not who
Sure.
you want through going through a rebuild. He's fucking 97 years old, and he hasn't coached for a losing season team almost ever. So it's like
Right.
it's the decisions being made by the Chucky doll that owns that team are really confusing, and yeah, Raiders fans pretty fed up too. It turns out, which didn't surprise me as much as Chiefs fans being upset, but yeah, they're done. And they were I listened to two different Raiders podcasts actually, and on both of them they brought up the fact that some Raiders fans are they were making fun of some Raiders fans who want John Gruden back. They were like, guys, have higher standards. I mean, God, like just because John
Yeah.
Gruden's like a funny guy on Instagram, like the team was bad when he was the coach. Like,
Dude,
let's
John
set our
Gruden is
aspirations a little fucking higher than that.
his resurgence as a figure, which like I partially get because I think he is like an entertaining guy. Um, but it's like I'm gonna make a prediction about a guy who still has skeletons in his closet. I don't think we've found the last offensive thing that he did or said, so I wouldn't buy too much Gruden stock. I don't think it'd be very prudent. And apologies to him if that's incorrect, but
It wouldn't be very
not a
Gruden.
guy. Yeah, I don't think he's the guy to you want to bring back in and then have like another scandal happen.
Yeah. And did
That's
you see
just
the
not gonna
video of
happen.
him? He was in Chicago actually, and he was in an Uber coming from the airport, and the Uber driver was going like 50 on the shoulder of the highway, and he's
Yeah.
John Gruden's like, "Hey man, you're the best Uber driver I've ever had."
Yeah. Well, I think he's
And
around
you
here
could
a
tell, but
lot now because
he's like white
Barstool's
knuckling it.
here.
You could tell him he's really scared, but he's still like, "This is awesome."
Yeah,
What'd you
he's a
say? What
bizarre
were you saying?
guy.
Sorry.
I think he's around Chicago a lot now because all the Barstool stuff's here now. Barstool HQ is Chicago based. So all our favorite friends are often around.
Oh God, no comments on that. Look, we still have to pick a winner in this bullshit game.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm going Browns.
you're going Browns. I kind of want to go Browns because like I mean Shador might pop, but they were saying that he looks so bad in that game because he has not taken reps with the starters at all at any point during the season, and
Uh-huh.
there was pushback. There was like, well, what the fuck, why? And then people were like, he's the third string quarterback. Okay, the third string quarterback never takes reps with the starters. Why would they do that? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, it, how is he still the third string quarterback? I mean, who is even who is second string after Dylan Gabriel? They got rid of Joe Flacco. Are they still counting third string from the Joe Flacco era? Because he's gone now. He should be taking reps with the starters, like maybe some time. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about with that, but just an
No,
excuse for
no,
me to make
that
fun
is
of how the
confusing because
Browns run the team.
I'm gonna look at their depth chart really quick just to see if we're missing something there. But I didn't even think about that he like just is straight up the second string quarterback right now. Um, yeah, Deshaun Watson's the third string.
Oh, that's
And Shador's
right.
second.
And there,
But Deshaun's
geez,
injured.
I listen to some Browns podcasts sometimes too that aren't hate listens actually. I've plugged it before out here. Orange and Brown Talk or Orange and Brown Today with Mary Kay, the goat Mary Kay Cabot. It's actually very informative and one of my favorite listens. But they have hinted a couple times that of Deshaun Watson coming back and being playing in games. They've
Jeez.
said that's not out of the realm of possibility. So maybe that's why he's not taking reps with the starters, which is an even more fucking stupid
That's
reason.
stupid.
But
I don't know.
I mean, I enjoyed watching Shooter Sanders at Colorado. He's had some weird moments in the NFL, particularly the mime incidents in the locker room. That was one of the absolutely most bizarre things I've ever like seen happen, like in in the like little NFL beat writer locker room world. So
Yeah. Well,
he
that
seems
reminded
like
me
kind of
because
a weirdo.
that was like in reference to something Rex Ryan said, right?
Yeah,
Or was
yeah.
it Adam Schefter?
It was
It was one of those
Rex
things where it's
Ryan
like
on
no one knew what he was referencing. It was like kind of I think about Chicago comedy. When you're, doing comedy at Cole's, you can reference a contemporary musician or TV show and get a laugh. But then you do the same joke like at the comedy bar in front of like a bunch of 50-year-olds from Indianapolis and they don't get it at all. I feel like that's kind of what happened to Shadur there is he was being too referential in the wrong spot and it didn't land.
yeah, he was that did really well in his NFL group chat with all his other
Yeah.
little buddies, but then he did it to a bunch of like boomer guys who've been on the Cleveland Browns beat for 25 years, and they were like, "What? Excuse me?" But
Yeah.
yeah, talking about ESPN talking heads has no place in the locker room. He should get recommended. He's kind of chilled out since then. I think they had a come to Jesus moment sort of after that. There haven't been any flare ups, but apparently he has a lot of positive off the field qualities too. Like he's very studious and like understands the game really well, and like he's a coach's kid, so he's probably a film nut. But boy, we've spent a lot of time talking about this game. I can't
Sure,
fucking
yeah.
decide. I don't. I'm just gonna go. No, Browns. Browns. Sorry, dog
Browns.
pound. Let's go. Raiders are too depressing. At least the Browns have like a halfway decent defense. Oh God, another game between. Well, no, this isn't that bad. Jaguars at Cardinals. Jaguars, as we've mentioned, are a tough team to get a read on this season. And obviously Jacoby Brissett set the record for NFL passing completions in a game
Yeah.
last week. So that's crazy. Can
Crazy.
we let's give a little just sort of a moment for that? Like that was when
Yeah, let
you
me pull
actually
up the
I didn't
stat
realize that
line.
was here I have the he overtook Jared Goff. Jared Goff had the record before in a game against the Buccaneers in 2019. He had 45 pass completions. Jacoby Brissett on Sunday against the 49ers in a game that they lost and only scored 22 points. He was 47 of 57 for 452 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And they scored 22 points. That's good. That's one of the biggest head scratches. The NFL record for passing completions in a game scored under 25 points and they lost, and it was at home. Yeah, really,
Yeah, well, it's like
really strange.
completions is one of those deceptive stats, or like even like when you think about who you're picking for your fantasy QB, sometimes once you've gotten past the top guys, you actually want to go for someone who's on a bad team just because they'll be asked to throw the ball so much. Um, so it's kind of like almost a deceptive stat that you could expect someone on a bad team or surprising to have, just because if you're being asked to throw 57 times in a game, probably not going well for you. But I'm looking now, so it was like 452 divided by 57. So 7.9 yards per attempt. It's not like the dinkiest or anything. I didn't watch the game, I will admit. So I don't know how it looked on the field, but definitely I think a good bar trivia question. Michael Wilson with 185 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns. Trey McBride with 115 and 1. I'm surprised. I'm looking. I just have this pulled up in Microsoft Bing, and it has win probability 40% Cardinals, 60 for Jaguars, and I think that's like kind of surprises me. I thought the Jaguars would be expected to stomp the Cardinals here. As much as like I'm a little unsure about some stuff with them, I think the Cardinals are like one of the worst teams.
Yeah, they've kind of collapsed the past few weeks. Like it kind of seemed for a minute like they were going to be one of those teams that's like fun bad, but and then you thought maybe even more that would be the case when Jacoby Brissett was named the starter, because
Yeah,
it was like, hey, backup can come in and give a little sauce to him, but that's not really what happened, and they are quite bad. It's actually not. I love looking up records. That's actually not the Cardinals' record for single game uh, passing record. It's Boomer Esiason had 522 yards in a game for the Cardinals in 1996 against Washington. He only needed 35 completions to do it. Cardinals are a team that has a crazy record book just because of how old the team is and how bad they've been. So you kind of forget about it, but they have had some interesting players over their years. But yeah, as far as this game, the Jaguars I feel like are almost as bad as the Falcons as far as like Jekyll and Hyde teams. I never know what's going to
sure.
happen, and this seems like a perfectly fine game for them to lose. Like they would lose this game. Like the Jaguars are one of those teams that could beat anyone and they can lose to anyone. So I'm actually going to go ahead and pick the Jags in this one.
Yeah, I'll pick Jags as well.
Damn. Sorry, Cardinals. They're kind of the Jacob's pet team since he lives there.
I would love for them to
But
be good. I like Kyler Murray. I mean, obviously he's not playing right now.
You're picking the Cardinals?
No, I'm gonna pick the Jaguars, but I like
You're
the
picking
Cardinals. Like I have fondness for them, but I'm doing Jags for sure.
Yeah, Jaguars are always kind of a team where I'm like, come on. I feel like literally every year, like since I was like in high school, I'm always like, nah, the Jaguars might be good, dude. I always like have a fondness for them too. But yeah, I am picking Cardinals in this game. Next one, classic rivalry, the Birds and the Boys. Our guy Jake's favorite team, Eagles at Cowboys. People are saying the Cowboys are one of these teams that could have a sneaky run to the playoffs. I'm really not buying that actually either. Um, but I am going Birds in this one.
I'm taking Eagles too, but I would really like to see the Philadelphia sports media the next day if the Cowboys do manage to win, because I do feel like their finger is really hovering over the trigger for this team. It's like you're saying, like they're an 8-2 team, but you wouldn't know about it the way they're kind of being talked about. For some reasons, pretty fair. When you watch
Yeah,
them, they make you a little sick. So I do kind of think that they're need this big kind of signature loss, and that people would immediately go catatonic. But I don't think it's going to come. So I'm taking Eagles as well.
I saw that Jeffrey Lurie actually had to emerge from his crypt and talk to AJ Brown about how weird he's acting, and I feel like it was probably that scene from fucking what's that HBO show that Woody Harrelson and Matthew Broderick, or not Matthew Broderick, Matthew McConaughey, where he's like
True Detective.
True Detective, where he's like, I need you to stop saying odd shit. He just like
Yeah.
just came to AJ Brown. I was like, I need you to stop going on streams with like far right like influencers. Like,
Well, it
please,
feels like
and
when
if you do, just keep your mouth shut about the team.
so when you're playing Madden franchise mode, I feel like there's something in the way the game is set up where once a season a receiver has to complain to you about them not getting enough receptions, and it'll happen like even if it doesn't make sense just because it's part of the game. And that feels like this kind of in real life. The game just said you're gonna have someone complain about that. I mean, I haven't looked at his individual numbers, but yeah, you just think of how the team is doing and the way he's complaining, and it does not quite comport with what you're used to.
Yeah, I think. I think the part of it is just they're just not a pass heavy offense, and he's being asked to do a lot of things that aren't catching the ball, and he's maybe I think it's maybe that he doesn't feel like he's getting enough credit for doing things that aren't catching the ball,
I see.
as opposed to just like but part of it is also like, hey, you should throw to me more. Why aren't we a more pass heavy offense? But it's like, man, I don't know. You guys
He only has
literally
three
just won the Super
touchdowns.
Bowl. You've won the conference 2 years in a row, and you've won the Super Bowl last year, and you're the best team in the conference. Like, Jacob's fed up with it. I think most Eagles fans are just fed up with it, and it's like, as long as they keep winning, what are you gonna do? But yeah, if they do lose, it's gonna be like they're 0-9. But they're not gonna lose to the Cowboys. Come on. Another division matchup here in the NFC. These are all the remaining games here are NFC matchups. Falcons at Saints. These games are always NFC South games are always a handful. They're wacky. You can't really what they've done against other teams is not really a necessary indicator of how this game's going to go. And then you add on top of that, the Falcons are the single hardest team to predict in the NFL. You don't know about is not necessarily even if they're going to win or lose, but like, what are they going to look like? Shit? Are they going to be awesome?
Well,
From even from half
keep in
to
mind
half, it feels like.
it's going to be a Kirk Cousins game.
Oh, is that so? Is that the case? He looked
Yeah. So
really bad when he came in last week in relief.
he did. I can't get. Was it last year he had like a 500-yard game? I can't get that out of my head. Thinking he still has something, but then when he looks like he did last week, it starts to push it. Um, yeah, it looks like it's going to be a Kirk starting game, um, which actually makes it tougher for me
You
because
like
I would have just
that?
taken the Falcons if it was a Penix game for sure. Um, do you know who you're taking in this one? I need to mull on it for a second.
Well, I'm looking at Kirk Cousins' game log. Last week we came in relief in an overtime loss to Carolina. He was 6 of 14 for 48 yards. I wanted to try to. Oh yeah, he did have a 500 yard game last season against Tampa. Another division game against the Buccaneers. He had 509 yards. He was 42 of 58. Came close to the record there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Um, yeah, Kirk Cousins kind of changes everything. Like you said, if it was a Penix game, I would be like, honestly, if it was this is I'm trying to like out jinx myself and like I don't know, because of how hard the Falcons are to predict. The Saints are bad. Oh, so the Falcons should lose to a bad team then, right? But it's a division game, so it's a Uno reverse card. This game is a fucking conundrum. You know what? No, I almost said I'm gonna predict a tie, but that's a really irresponsible thing to do. I'm gonna pick the Saints. I'm going to pick the Saints. Yes, that's right.
I'm going to pick. I'm doing the
Because
Saints as well.
it's in New Orleans and Kirk Cousins. Sorry, I don't know. I just can't trust him.
I get that. I'm doing Saints.
Not easy. Not easy to pick the Saints though. They're again
I mean,
one of the
the
worst teams
Saints
in the
beat the
league.
Panthers in their last game, which I did not realize.
Yeah.
November
I mean,
9th, but
any given Sunday. Now we're into the Sunday night game. This is a pretty good matchup. Buccaneers traveling to SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Rams look like the best team in the NFC that isn't the Eagles. Uh, I really like the Rams this season. I'm really high on them. Um, Matt Stafford looks so. I saw a video of him that from on Instagram the other day of his. It was like him being interviewed in the locker room when he was in college, and I
Mhm.
realized how much different he looks now.
Yeah.
He lives. He got LA-ified. He has like Ozempic face and really over the top bad tan and veneers. And it's like watching this video of him when he was probably I don't know like 19 or 20 in college, and he's like cute. He's like a cute little country boy with these little rosy red cheeks. It's not like he was bad looking before. I don't know why LA does this to people. Not to focus on people's looks because it's what's on the inside that counts, and uh, but we know what Matthew Stafford's insides are from when the Rams won the Super Bowl, and that photographer like fell and broke her spine right in front of him, and they didn't even like move or try to help her in any way. Gee, I was not expected to go on this tangent about Matt Stafford. I want to reiterate that I do like the Rams and am picking them in this game. But yeah, he's the veneers. The veneers drive me crazy with him. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm going Rams in this one.
Taking Rams as well. I think they're probably the team for me. Like I know I was saying there's not that many teams for me that I feel like I don't know if I call the Rams a powerhouse, but I'm like confident that they're going to do good week in and week out. It's like even though like the Eagles are maybe the top team in the NFC, they're like scary to watch, and the Rams are not scary to watch in that way. So I'll have to go with them. Although I think it could be it's a good matchup.
It is a good matchup, and the Buccaneers had a pretty good showing against the Bills last week. It was kind of a two teams that it was literally. I was at a bar that is owned by a Bills fan. It's this lesbian bar up here in Edgewater. You should come join us sometime up here in Rogers Park. We go to this lesbian bar and watch football every Sunday. And the owner's a big Bills fan, so she had the Bills game on TV too. So I had an eye on that, and it was very back and forth, especially late. And I feel like those are two teams, but the Buccaneers and the Bills are two teams that are like kind of like the Broncos that are like, oh shit, we got to win the game, and then they just go, but they were just doing that back and forth to each other. It was kind of crazy to watch. So could see some fireworks in this one. I'm gonna end up going with the Rams, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a late push by the Buccaneers to win it in the last second. Haven't seen one of those from Baker in a
Mhm.
while this season, but he's still capable of doing it. Yeah, the Rams are a perfectly responsible Super Bowl pick at this point of the season. They might not be the favorites, but it's like they have the track record, they have the coach, they have the talent, they have you know cool uniforms. I think I liked the
Yeah.
black uniforms last week. David said he didn't like it, but I liked them.
Yeah, I thought they were not offensive to me. I'm not
A
I don't feel
ringing
strongly about
endorsement.
uniforms.
Oh, I'm a
Yeah,
big
I think the
dork
last year
about
was
fucking
very
uniforms.
weighted.
In football, it's for me. Football uniforms are actually the least good-looking ones. The ones I kind of care about the least, honestly. It's more basketball and hockey. I think are the cool. Hockey's probably the best. Hockey probably has the coolest jerseys. Like ones I'm
Yeah,
most likely to
definitely.
actually wear in my life on just a normal day, especially in the winter. I like having a hockey jersey on around the house in the wintertime. Anywho, um, and now the Monday night game. As we did mention this one early in the episode, that it has a little bit of juice. Maybe this is a game you wouldn't expect to have juice in week 12 back in August, but Panthers at 49ers, kind of some intense implications for the NFC wildcard race. And the 49ers, man, they just keep hanging around. I know it's kind of funny that they're in third place in the NFC West at 7-4. Rams are 8-2, Seahawks are 7-3, but the wild card race is of great importance to them. I mean, you got the Packers and Lions at 6-3 and 6-3-1 and 6-4 that they kind of got to eke out. Yeah, the Panthers are sitting there at second place at 6-5 in the NFC South. So these are that Panthers have more of a chance to win their division, I think, than the Niners do. Obviously, that they could overtake the Buccaneers. It would be crazy. It would be an insane turn of events, but it's possible. 49ers kind of a tough hill to climb to get over the Seahawks and Rams. So this is probably going to have like a playoff intensity feel. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
nationally people don't really give that much of a shit about the Panthers or 49ers, but for the sickos that are going to be watching every game, this is probably going to be kind of an intense one. And I keep wanting to count the 49ers out with all their injuries, but they keep on hanging on. They obviously did give up a NFL record, whatever, 47 pass completions or whatever last week. And so their defense is pretty decimated. But their offense just keeps getting it done. Christian McCaffrey might have a historic season in terms of like touches and yards from scrimmage, sort of quietly. I feel like Mac Jones coming back. This is a tough one, honestly. I think I'm leaning Niners actually. As much as I love the Panthers and Bryce Young, I think I am leaning, as Jacob calls him, the best regular season coach in the NFL, Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I think I'm going 49ers as well. Christian McCaffrey, I think, is just great, and the Panthers are exceeding my expectations for them, which are like incredibly low. I think they're having a fun season, but I still think that they're like a level below the 49ers, not a level below in the way that this will be like a definite blowout. But I think this game will kind of show that the Panthers are maybe on the path, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, the expectations are going to be high going into season, regardless of what happens the rest of the season. They definitely fucking found something with Rico Dowdle. I mean, he's awesome, and
Definitely.
They're clear number one. But it's just like, I mean, who else do you even know on that team besides him, Bryce Young, and Tedero McMillan? I guess Xavier Leggett. People know him because of his accent, and he's had some nice games. They need some more playmakers on defense. Cool to have a pass rush. They don't have a lot of household names. I mean, they are the Panthers. But yeah, if you're a Panthers fan, you definitely feel like, hey, we're just a couple guys away from actually being able to make some serious noise in the conference. Well, that's it. Those are all the games. It's getting into I guess we should have mentioned that some of these games are going to be happening on. Oh no, Thanksgiving's next week. Thanksgiving is the week after that.
Yeah.
That's when the Thanksgiving game starts. Never mind. We don't have to preview that quite yet, but maybe we can real quickly look just a
Don't
little
forget
peek
the
ahead.
Black Friday game.
Oh my gosh, the Black Friday game. Who could forget? Yeah, Bears. That's a big one for our family up here. On online shopping day. Thanksgiving slate is going to be Packers at Lions, Chiefs at Cowboys, Bengals at Ravens, and then on Jeff Bezos' say it's going to be Bears at Eagles. So could be a pretty good slate. That Bengals and Ravens game might be pretty ugly and shitty to watch, but like you said, the night Thanksgiving game is kind of weird.
Yeah, it depends on if Joe Burrow's back and how he looks and everything.
Yeah. Any parting thoughts for our beautiful audience before we break here?
I'd just say if you're around, don't skip that Browns Raiders game. I think there's a lot of reasons you wouldn't want to watch it, but I think it'll be a good one, and you'll be kicking yourself on Monday when you can't join the conversation. So just want to pick that as the sneaky good game to watch. But other than that, I don't really have anything. Thanks for having me. This was very fun.
Yeah,
I loved talking some football.
Talking ball. Well, folks, we'll see you next week. Until then, please like and subscribe.